Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, and this is a movie review that I've wanted to do quite a while because I've wanted to see it for a while. First I got to do my every video plugs that I'm still getting used to. Go to my recent video, thank you to 500 subs, that's the new Q&A video. Leave your questions on there and I'll answer them next weekend. Go to the Room 237 Reviews Facebook page, like and join that. And check out the Room 237's Patreon page. Check out the tiers, see if you'd like to be a patron. If you would, greatly appreciated, that'd be awesome. If not, thank you all the same. So with that, we're gonna get into the review, and this is a movie I've known about for quite a while. Never seen it, never been able to see it. And it was always, I don't know how many versions you can get. This is the Criterion Collection, but it's 1960s Eyes Without a Face, which is a French film. French film by, and I'm probably going to butcher their names. Co-written and directed by Georges Franju. George ends with an S, so I'm saying Georges Franju. And it stars Pierre Brassier and Alida Valli, who I noticed would go on to be in Lisa and the Devil and Suspiria. And Edith Scobb plays their daughter. Now, 1960, this is widely considered as one of the first art films, like art house horror films, artistic horror films. Different than German Expressionism and avant-garde. But, so I wouldn't put this with elevated horror playlist because elevated horror was more 2010 to present. But I will put this in the extreme and art house horror. Because back in 2060, this was shocking and disturbing. It is really known for one scene, but it's pretty realistic, and a lot of people were grossed out by it. It is a very well-made movie. It is a very good movie. I do like the story. This version, so this is the second Criterion version I have. The other one being Salò. It comes with a 1949 short documentary. It's about 22 minutes, directed by the same director, about slaughterhouses. It is graphic. It is a real slaughterhouse. I mean, it starts with a horse, so that's fun. But it's got a bunch of other stuff. I mean, documentary excerpt from La Grande Perez du Crime, documentary featuring the writers. It only comes in French, but it says improved English subtitles. So I'm guessing there was an issue with the subtitles at one point. I think it took a while to come out in America. Yeah, it didn't come out till 1962 under the name The Horror Chamber of Dr. Faustus. And it was a double feature with The Manster. It says it wasn't very positive when it first came out, but then home video releases is where its reputation, because it became one of those, hey, check this out, kind of fucked up horror movies. And I can see why. I mean, 1960, this was the same year when that Psycho came out. And I know it's a bit of a legend about Psycho with being the first movie to show a toilet being flushed. But you also have to remember, people swear that they see a knife penetrating flesh in Psycho, which you don't. And even though this was 2 years later, at least in America, the face removal scene is quite realistic, and it still holds up today. I mean, it's shot in black and white. It opens up with this very, like, a drive through the nighttime country, It looks very much like Clockwork Orange when they're in the Durango 95. If you look at the trees, I mean, it doesn't look like a green screen. It looks like a car is actually driving through the country. But it has what sounds like a different version of the Curb Your Enthusiasm music, which plays a lot in this movie. Especially when the Alita Valley character is out doing stuff. The story is, okay, there's this very esteemed doctor, played by Pierre Brassier, who some period ago there was a bad accident and it destroyed his daughter's face, except for, you know, the space around her eyes. So she wears this expressionless white mask that it does have features, it does have a nose and lips. It pretty much is her face, just white. And now what he does is he kidnaps young, beautiful women her age, skins their face off and put it on hers. Now, it doesn't quite say, or I missed, how many victims that's happened to, but we do see one. And in the beginning of the film, we see, because Alita Valley plays the mother, with the Curb Your Enthusiasm music, we see her take a body with a wrapped face, dump it in the water. But when it's found, Pierre Brassier says, he goes to identify the body, and it's like, yes, that's my daughter. The facial scars, I can tell it's her. So legally, she's pronounced dead. But eventually, police catch on and they realize there's something else going on. But the scene that people remember is they kidnap this other woman. And they start by outlining her face. And then he takes a scalpel and he just slowly goes around. And it looks realistic. I mean, whether he's doing the initial cut, the blood just look a little black. But when he sticks it's not quite up close, which I think works. I mean, it's probably about like this far away. But you can kind of see the scalpel going in. And Valley takes forceps and attaches it to the face so that when it's cut all the way around, they can lift it together. It's alluded to that each face transplant thus far has been a failure. And, you know, she's pretty much held prisoner, and she kind of looks like a young Mia Farrow. You grow to feel for her in a weird way. You can kind of see where the parents are coming from, but at the same time, they are bad people. And there is a point where, like, when he's cutting, like, down here, the whole face kind of moves, and it does look like rubber or latex. But for the most part, it does look very realistic, especially for 1960. The face removal scene still holds up. It shows everything. I mean, it's very quick when they take the face off, when you see just like the meat. And of course they hide that body in like a mausoleum. And things start out looking well. She has, you know, she's able to have her face. It doesn't look like the previous actress. It looks like hers. She was losing faith in her father's experiments. But then we see pictures from like day 5, day 7, day 12, and I think day 20 of the decomposition and necrosis of the dead tissue. So of course it did work again. Now I'm gonna get into spoilers. I mean, this is 1960, but I would like people to see this. This is a good art house film. Again, can't call it elevated because, I mean, this is like 50 years before elevated horror became a thing. But it is a good art house flick. It is one of the earliest examples. Again, different than German Expressionism and avant-garde. But, you know, the way it's shot, the way the music is, the the performances. I mean, the mother. It's hinted that the mother had a successful transplant given by the husband, but she seems to have like a very Stepford Wives kind of performance, like almost kind of emotionless and robotic. You really do feel for the daughter. A lot of the dialogue is very kind of poetic. She talks about how when she looks in the mirror and sees her face, she gets scared, but her mask scares her even more. She's losing faith. She wants to die. You really feel for the daughter character. But, so if you can find this, probably online. It took me a while to find it at the store that I go to. Definitely get the Criterion Collection. Yeah, I'm going to get into spoilers, so definitely check it out. But, so her seemingly now ex-boyfriend or fiance or whoever, Jacques, works with the police. And the police are noticing a pattern of young, beautiful students with shorter hair going missing and being found without a face. Or, no, they haven't been found, they've just been reported missing. The last girl had said she's going to a movie, I think it was, with an older woman with a thick pearl necklace, which is what the wife wears to cover up the surgical scars from way back when. So that's when Jacques realizes, oh, that's like her mother wears that kind of necklace. So they hire this young woman to sort of get committed to the hospital that the father works at. Of course, they take her in. And then, you know, when the time is right, the police go and investigate. But this is when, but by this point, the daughter really wants to die. She even proposes to the mother, you know, there's all these injections downstairs. He also has all these kennels full of dogs. He kind of acts like a pound because he experiments different things on animals. We don't ever see that. We do see a dog on a table at one point. It's still alive, but he hasn't done anything to it. She suggests just pretty much being euthanized. The mother hates that idea. She's become disenchanted. She doesn't believe in her father anymore. And at one point, after the police leave, she goes down and she frees the girl that the police hired. And then she stabs the mother in the throat with a scalpel, lets all the dogs loose, and they maul the shit out of the husband. And then it's a pretty poetic ending because she does let all the dogs free, but the last thing she opens is the birdcage with the doves. And she lets some of the doves go, and she kind of looks around. Then she walks outside, and her arms are kind of out with doves on her arms and flying above her. Sort of symbolic of being free, finally. I'm guessing it's accepting your beauty for how it is. I don't know if the ending is that optimistic, but pretty poetic ending as far as being freed with the doves. But yeah, the face removal scene, it still holds up today. From 1960, it's really the only gruesome scene other than the dogs mauling the husband. Which it doesn't show much until it's done. We see the aftermath, which isn't the most realistic thing, but it is still pretty bloody. I do love the music at the end. That I don't know what it is, but in the beginning and whenever the Alita Valley character is walking around town looking for victims, they play that Curb Your Enthusiasm music. It's not the part that's always in Curb Your Enthusiasm. I think it's like the next part of the music. But I did enjoy this film. And I kept waiting for the scene when the brain gets hit with the axe, but that's Feed Without a Face, which came out around the same time. which there is a Criterion version of that too, so I will be getting that at some point. But I'm growing very fond of these art house horror films. Again, same with Salò. I consider this more of an artistic horror film than a Serbian film. A Serbian film was nothing but shock value. There wasn't really anything artistic, or the metaphorical and allegorical story did not work. It just felt forced. This to me is more artsy. I mean, it's creating beauty through something horrific. I don't really know how to explain it, but Eyes Without a Face is a pretty enjoyable film. Again, that face removal still holds up. Other than a couple parts where it does kind of look like rubber, it does look very realistic. And again, it's 1960. You're not going to have blood spurting out everywhere, so don't get mad when it doesn't look like a Peter Jackson film. But it is a good art house horror film, one of the first of its kind. Definitely recommend it. I really enjoyed it. So that is Eyes Without a Face. Thank you for watching.